My name is Jarrett Key from Brown Political Review, and I will be moderating our discussion on climate change. Joining me today is Professor Don King from the Environmental Studies Center at Brown University, Marcel Birch-Gu, and Camilla Bustos from Brown Divest Co. I want to thank Brown's Political Theory Project for their support of Brown Political Review. So, like I said, the structure for today, we're going to start with Obama's remarks on climate change and hear your impressions. Then we're going to move to the Keystone Pipeline controversy and protests. And then we're going to wrap up today with Brown Divest Co. and the role that universities have on affecting climate change policy. Great. So Obama's statement in the State of the Union address, he said, if Congress does not take action on climate change, he and his cabinet will issue an executive order. What are your impressions on his statement? Do you think that this fired up rhetoric will actually propel Congress to act? Start with Professor Don King.
You know, when you look at climate change, one of the most important things with it is that it affects our entire economy.
Right.
And when the Obama administration says that he'll take an executive order to make us act on climate change, it's just really hard to believe that there wouldn't be backlash from Congress. There's court procedures, there's certain things that we could go through that would stop that from happening.
Like the professor said, climate change can affect the economy. But on the reverse of that, you have projects like the Keystone Pipeline thing, which is like, oh, you put this huge pipeline from Canada to the Gulf of Texas, and that would create a lot of jobs too, so why shouldn't we invest in that instead?
There's so many interests here for the job creation from corporations, interest groups.
Right.
So it's a very complicated situation.
It is. I've read a lot of articles that were saying, so support for the Keystone Pipeline project could generate thousands of jobs, it could decrease our dependence on oil from the Middle East. It could strengthen our relationship to Canada. For me, those are super compelling arguments to vote in favor of this measure. And I kind of just want to hear from Professor Don King. If you were the president, I guess is what I'm going to ask you, how would you try to balance all of these different things in order to say aye or nay for this Keystone Pipeline project?
I think that's a great question, because the president's a political actor. He's been mentioning climate change, but only after Sandy, only after public opinion changed in the United States. It was never brought up during his campaign, or very, very rarely. The counter argument is that we're going to be getting this oil anyway from Venezuela. So now we'll just be getting it from Canada. It could create jobs. Nebraska, which was opposed, is now supporting it. So I think the president has to think very strategically about what is going to do the most impact for climate change.
Right.
And to be honest, that cannot be the Keystone XL.
So as we consider all these different demonstrations and protests affecting policy change, I'd like Camilla and Marcel to speak briefly on Brown Divest Co. and the role that you all have on campus. Basically, like, what is your goal? What is Brown Divest Co.'s goal? Can you just talk briefly about that?
Brown Divest is 15 filthiest coal companies.
Right.
It's symbolic, making it socially inappropriate to invest in dirty coal companies is our primary goal.
The second part of their role is to raise awareness about how Brown's investments not necessarily reflect the stimulation mission. And I think it's important for students to be aware of what they're using to invest in and take a role in it and make their voices heard.
Right. I'm curious, do you all actually know how much Brown is invested in coal? No. I was curious. I think, like, for me it's difficult, and to be honest, I'm quite skeptical of the power that Brown Divest Co. has in influencing policy.
If you think about this, think about the broader picture. There are 252 colleges divest movements right now.
I guess since divesting in coal is really important to you, do you all offer the university other solutions for investing in other places? So in order to keep the endowment running, like, I'm just curious about what are the solutions y'all offer other than just divest?
Yeah, we haven't really presumed to have the financial knowledge to do that. I think other colleges have tried to do that, and they've gotten embroiled in that and slowed them down.
Are there any final statements? Professor Don, do you have to say anything?
Sure. The divestment movement is more important than the Keystone XL Pipeline. We might only see changes when it comes from the bottom, when it comes from the investors pulling money. Politically, it's almost impossible to stop doing what they want to get done.
Right.
Economically, we might be able to make a change, and it has to make sense.
Well, thank you all so much for talking with me this afternoon.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having us.